Three speakers signed up. Clay Dafoe is signed up against. And you have 3 minutes.
Number 19. Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. And I'd like to stick to the items, but I'm being forced to talk about other things because they're not letting me talk about the items. So number 19, Mr. Mayor, I'm going into the specifics. I look hardcore at what is being written, what is being said. I've worked in a law firm. These things matter. You can't just give them a cursory glance. This will approve a resolution authorizing the city manager to apply for grant funding of up to $3 million from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, another LBJ project. Lyndon Baines Johnson started this. Office of Sustainable Housing and Communities for the fiscal year 2011 Community Challenge Planning Grant Program to assist in developing the city-owned tract known as Colony Park. Now, Colony Park, if you don't know, is off of Loyola Lane. It's in northeast Austin on the way if you drive out of downtown east towards Walter Long Lake. I've been out there. It is a growing area of the city. It used to be very rural, and now it's getting suburbanized and urbanized, which is fine. That's going to happen. It develops organically. But I don't think this resolution is organic. This is applying for grant funding from our national government in Washington. Now, I've told you guys you need to be jealous of power last week, and I'm going to echo the same sentiment today. Why is the city trying to develop Colony Park? Why don't let a private business do it if the demand's really there? I think this is another power grab from the federal government. You want something from us, you're going to have to give us something back. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. That's what they're saying with possibly giving this grant for $3 million. I know it's not at that stage yet. You're just applying. But I think Austin should be a self-sufficient city, Mr. Mayor, that can support itself on its own 2 feet, because our national government, as Mr. Bush has described, John Bush, is going bankrupt. It's not going to be there for this grant money. And then these people are not going to have homes. It's going to be a half-finished project. So I'm serious. I've looked at mortgages. I've worked with HUD mortgages, and it's a mess. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, these are messes, and it's going to put a huge burden on the Austin taxpayer to fund a project where there is no demand. If there was demand, why isn't it already developed? Why hasn't Colony Park already been done through private business? Why does the government have to do it? Council, why do we have to apply for this grant? Anyone? Well, I hope you would be more astute, because this is $3 million. And you might say, oh, well, it's federal money. It's not city money. Well, that's actually taxpayer money from all across our great nation, from Kentucky, Minnesota, Texas, New York. And I don't think other citizens in other states are going to like that either. This is an epidemic problem we're facing. HUD has been a disaster for our country. I will attest to it. And please vote no. Thank you.
Next speaker is John Bush, also signed up against.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is John. John Bush.
John, that's it for you too. Next time, your time is going to be expired when you do it.
Oh, is that a warning?
That is a warning.
Okay, warning taken. This particular item, I think the City Council and all city governments, for that matter, have a tendency to rely on federal grant funds. And I think the obvious reason is because you're able to get monies for projects without having to increase tax revenue, which helps to keep you in office. Not to say that y'all aren't increasing tax revenue every opportunity you have. But we need to remember that, again, it was mentioned earlier, as it was a joke, that the S&P downgraded the United States debt credit rating, and we're out here shelling out money, more bonds, committing more tax dollars from future generations, and if we don't watch out, we're going to be in the same situation as the United States government. Even if we do keep a tight fiscal house here, which isn't the case, we're about to spend $600,000 on tasers, we're still committing so much monies to hiring 50 new officers we just did. We're taking federal monies to build housing projects when there isn't a natural incentive for growth, which I spoke about before, creates unnatural growth. It increases property taxes. It causes gentrification in the area. So you guys need to be careful. If you set up all these projects that are dependent on federal money in order to exist or in order to continue to operate, you're going to find soon, as the dollar continues to deteriorate and as the federal economy and the national economy continues to decline, that you're going to be left holding the bill. And again, you're not going to want to force tax increases in order to cover this stuff. Venezuela just pulled out like 50 tons of gold from European banks. They're about to do quantitative easing 3 with the Federal Reserve Bank, push out more money. Investors are losing faith all across the country. Multiple countries are stopping the use of dollars to trade oil. OPEC is considering doing the same thing. So just be aware that the safety net of federal funds, millions and millions of federal funds, is not always going to be there. And if we don't get our fiscal house in order here, and as Clay said, become more self-sufficient, then I worry there's going to be all sorts of programs. There's going to be people without homes because they were dependent on the federal money to live in them. There's going to be officers without jobs. And you guys are going to be left with the blame. So it's an early warning. I know everything's cozy down here and we seem to be recession-proof, but it's going to hit us. I have a feeling, too, you guys are creating a bubble in a solar energy market. If there was natural demand for solar energy, it would be coming of its own accord. If you're going to continue to throw money at it, you're creating a bubble, and all bubbles burst, just like we saw with the dot-com bubble here in the city of Austin, which caused us a lot of pain. So don't forget to think about, I know some of you may not be here or be elected in office, 5 to 10 years down the road, it's possible that the federal government isn't going to be able to continue funding us and that we're going to burst the bubbles that we're creating through unnatural growth. Thank you.
Time expired. Suzanne Almanza also signed up in favor but not wishing to speak, and those are all speakers that we have. So I'll entertain a motion on item 19. Councilmember Morrison moves approval. Second by Councilmember Martinez. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Passes on a vote of 6-0. Mayor Pro Tem Cole off the dais.